Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. That was kind of awkward. But anyways, my name is Gochi, and if you haven't been to my channel, I'm basically like an artist, YouTuber who really likes art, anime, video games, and also Jesus because yes, I am a Christian. And today I will just be really talking about my experience being a Christian who loves watching anime and how I navigate it, especially with how crazy it's gotten these days. And also, warning! Guys, I don't know what I'm doing. Basically, I have some crazy hot takes, and but I'm fine for discussion in the comment section. I would just recommend that you please don't insult people. So, yeah, anyways, let's get into the video. So in order to understand the entirety of this video, first of all, I'm gonna have to talk to you guys about my anime slash manga history. So first things first, what was my first ever show? My first ever show was actually Itazura na Kiss, or I think it's translated to Playful Kiss or Mischievous Kiss. I ended up watching like the K-drama for it, amazing, but like I watched the anime first, and one of my first anime shows that just hooked me into the entire thing, along with Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail is also pretty solid, although I haven't watched that in like years. And my two current favorite shows are actually JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Demon Slayer. Yeah. With actually these two are kind of fighting for the first spot, I'm not gonna lie, but as of right now, after finishing part 7, I will say JoJo is up there, but knowing that like Demon Slayer, like that second movie is about to come out for the Infinity Castle, after reading the manga for it, I have a feeling it's gonna be good, so I have faith. And my most hated show of all time would honestly have to be anything with hentai, really. Like, I hate that stuff. Like, it's disgusting. But also, in addition to that, like, Boys Over Flowers, because let me just say, the main girl should have definitely ended up with that violin boy. The other guy, he was just a disgusting character. Yet they made her end up with him, and I'm like, he was the worst option in literally every way. Versus like the violin boy actually cared and everything. He was just all around a good person. Too bad they had to make him fall in love with some random girl who doesn't even show up like till the later seasons. But anyways, I guess I'm also gonna introduce some gems that I like. And then after that, I'll probably just go into a whole list of like shows I have watched. But that part will probably be sped up because I'm trying to keep this this video in like 30 minutes or less. So let's go. Some gems that I love is the first one is Chihaya Furu. I really love like the whole Karuta thing, amazing. I did a whole presentation on that from one of my classes, my Japanese class actually. And then I love Haikyuu after playing volleyball for like 5 years. It was very relatable. Apothecary Diaries. I love Mao Mao. Like, do I need to say more? Mao Mao is amazing, spectacular, and anyone who says otherwise, they're not human. And also Oran High School Host Club. I just love it. Like, it's good. It's good. Like, everything about it, the music, everything. It's just spectacular. A masterpiece. So now we are going to speed through a list of all the anime shows that I have watched. And I'm probably gonna make this be like a minute, so if you can hear anything you like or if you want to slow it down at this part, feel free to do so. But I'm going to list them off now. One Piece, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Thus Spoke Rohan Kishibe, which is also a part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Naruto Shippuden, Demon Slayer, Oran High School Host Club, Blue Period, A Silent Voice, Violet Evergarden, Hana Yori Dengo or Boys Over Flowers, Kiss Him Not Me, The Rising of the Shield Hero, Cells at Work, March Comes In Like a Lion, Run with the Wind, Haikyuu, The Fate Series, Days, Snow White with Red Hair, Promised Neverland, One Punch Man, Mob Psycho 100, Surun, Noragami, My Hero Academia, Maid Sama, Psyche K, both shows, Tokyo Revengers, Glitter Force, and Glitter Force Doki Doki, Food Wars, I skipped all the fan service, The Way of the House Husband, Spectacular, Lost Song, Kuroko's Basketball, Forest of Piano, Japan Sings, Ghost in the Shell, SAC 2045, Hunter x Hunter, Hero Mask, Yoamushi Pedal, Carol and Tuesday, Beastars, Miss Hokusai, Beyblade series. But I kind of lost my place in Beyblade series, but it's also a masterpiece, so recommend. Oh, and there have also been some shows that I have been watching recently that are probably not on this list. One of them being, I think, Blue Lock is definitely one of them, and honestly, that's probably it. And there's like this one on Crunchyroll called Radiant, but I'm not gonna lie, I haven't watched that since 2018. So yeah, those are all the shows I've watched so far, with a margin of error of like 2%, but it's okay. Now, this section of the video is going to be called Show Criteria as a somewhat serious Christian, because, like I said in the title, as someone who is a Christian, there are a lot of anime shows that don't align with my beliefs. And this is just me talking about my convictions and some things about me personally, and whether or not you're convicted by this video or not. I mean, only the Holy Spirit can do that. So I'm just going to talk about some boundaries that I lay with these shows, and sometimes I don't follow them to a T, but I have been as of recent years, just cutting down on stuff like that. So let's talk about some boundaries that I've started to lay down, because oh my Lanta, some of these shows are absolutely terrible with these. So let's start. So the first point is number one, no over glorifying demons, because I will not lie, a lot of these shows do have a lot of demon stuff where they'll be like, oh yeah, these characters named after demons, they're so good. I'm like, no bro, they're not. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, these characters are named after demons, blah blah. And I'm like, I'm not about that life. You don't need that. And some shows that I stick out, some of these are anime shows, some of these are just shows that exist, just so you know, I'll be mixing stuff, but overall it's about anime. So first one is Jujutsu Kaisen, Has Been Hotel, and the one that makes me the most sad, One Piece. I'm like, bro, One Piece is one of the first ever shows that I've watched. I mean, I skipped a lot of it. I'm one of those people because I have too much stuff to do, playing video games, writing stories. Anyways, and for that, it's mainly the devil fruits and over glorifying demons and stuff. I'm like, Satan isn't a good person. These characters should not want to be demons. And as a Christian, I'm like, we shouldn't be over glorifying stuff like this. I just don't agree. Anyways, point number 2, no excessive gore. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of have a weak stomach for excess violence. Some people can handle it, I cannot. And the way I kind of limit myself is, or the show that is maximum violence that I can handle is probably Attack on Titan. Although I've been hearing that JoJo is violent, but they cover it up, okay? It's not the same. Anyways, Attack on Titan is my limit on violence, as in I can't watch stuff that surpass it in a way. So I can't watch stuff like Chainsaw Man. I wanted to so bad 2 years ago, whenever it came out, I think, or the last year, because my friends were watching it. But then I was whenever I heard that oh yeah, someone gets sliced in half the first episode, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not about that, guys. And yeah, that's not for excessive gore. Okay, so these next 4 to 5-ish points will actually be based on stuff that I brought scripture to represent, at least for the points 4 and 5, because it's mainly covering sexual stuff, and I'm gonna stand here and say I do not like any sexual media, especially in anime shows and cartoons that are despite what people say, they are targeted towards kids, so I'm not all about that. So point number 3, I guess, to start off with, that is no furries. I'm sorry, I don't like that stuff. I don't care about that stuff, although I think it's more of an art thing. But Beastars, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't watch that. Like, you're expecting me to believe that that wolf guy is half Komodo dragon, or like that he's in love with that bunny. I, I'm sorry, that's next level growth. It doesn't make sense. It's like, why couldn't she be a wolf character? Anyways, yeah, I I don't like that stuff, and like I said, it's kind of like teetering on that bestiality aspect for me, because then people will be like simping over animal characters, and I'm like, oof, I'm not about that life, guys. I'm not. Feel free to tune out, but this is something that I feel like I need to share, especially since this is my channel and I'm a Christian. I gotta share the word with y'all, like I just can't come here being unprepared and things like that. So yeah, I'm anyways, to get into point four, I'm really strict on the no hentai because that stuff is degenerating as like really bad to like both like the women they portray and like the men also, and it's just all around not good for you. And for like the people who say like, oh yeah, but it's just like, blah blah blah, it isn't as bad as porn, I'm like, it is, it's bad. They're all basically the same thing, as long as if like you're over sexualizing a character, which I find a major problem with in lots of anime shows. I'm just like, you don't need to do this. If a character can't stand on their own without being overly sexualized, then it's not good. The story respectfully sucks. And that's what I'm gonna say. And also, porn isn't good for your eyes. It's not good for you. It's not good for your soul. It like defiles the mind. And it's like a lot of times, like, you'll see with people who do really sick acts and that stuff, they start off small, and then like you realize, oh, whenever like you hear like trigger warning, like people who are like rapists or like pedos and stuff like that, you realize that they had like a history of watching porn. And then whenever they start escalating to start watching like stuff with kids and stuff like that, which is also another problem, because sometimes some of that stuff will be featuring kids, then you understand like it was the media they are watching. That's why I'm like, whenever people say like, oh, it's okay, I'm like, no, it's not really. But it sucks because a lot of shows now have that these days. So it's like, man, I can only really watch like kid shows from my day, 2025, or not 2025, 2005 now. But like I said, to this point, like sexual sin is very prevalent in anime, and because I don't want to sully my eyes, it's a no for me. And the verse that I brought for this was First Corinthians 6 verses 18 to 20, if I'm not mistaken. And here's what it says. It says, flee from sexual immorality. All other sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually sins against their own body. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you've received from God? You are not your own. You are bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. And I don't know if I watched this in like a video recently or anything, but I remember someone mentioning like, like with all other sins, like, like lying, murder, which I mean, like, like murder, I would kind of group with this in a way, but what's it called? But it's kind of like with someone else's body versus like lying and stuff. It's all towards other people. But with sexual immorality, not only is it with other people, but it's also a sin against you. I mean, that's why I say like there's like lots of STDs in the world, because that isn't something you should be doing outside of marriage, no matter what people say. I'm just like, like that is set for like whenever a man and a woman get together, they get married and stuff like that, versus like whenever you start like committing like these sexual sins with other people, then that gets like into like lots of trouble, because then like, oh, you're just like, oh yeah, it's fine, I can do it with anybody, blah blah blah, and then like lots of heartbreak, lots of pregnancy scares and things like that. And it's just like all around not a healthy life, no matter what people are saying. Like it just causes a lot of drama. But in addition to that, I say like with sexual sin, you gotta flee from it. If you know that like what's it called, watching these things are gonna make you feel that way, don't watch it. If you need someone to be like an accountability partner, tell someone who you can trust, tell them. Also bring your issues to God, pray about it, so that it like if you feel like like the urges to like watch this stuff, because it really brings nothing good to you. because if our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, with the Holy Spirit being like, holy, you need to watch things that glorify his like name, and not just like watch stuff just because you want to feel good, because it's also a sin against your own body, because again, you can get sick, you can break your heart, and I also believe in soul ties, so it can also be bringing demons into your body. So that's the reason for this whole part. And oh wait, I'm also going to get into part 5, but I'm going to cut off here real quick. This also brings me into part 5, where like with the GL stuff and like yaoi, things like that. Because also, as like someone who reads the Bible and feels a conviction in this, homosexuality is not a good thing. Now, like, will I still love people even if they're like gay or like lesbian? Yeah, I have friends who are like that, but it doesn't mean I support the sin. I love the person, like it's easy to separate, and I'm just like, like that's just something that'll mess you up. I'm sorry, like, like God created like man and woman in his image, and therefore, like, we gotta like respect the boundaries he set for marriage, because there's a whole reason, because that's how you build the entirety of the family. And I'm not gonna lie, these days the family has been breaking down, like it's not good, and people are like, oh yeah, you don't need a family, blah blah blah. That's a lie. With families, like, not only is it a representation of like God, but it's also somewhere to like ground people whenever people have like a father in their life and a mother in their life who actually care. That just builds like a whole lot of things, like, you have a protector, but then you also have someone who nurtures and things like that. And yeah, like I said, like I still love y'all, but I won't support this sin. And a verse I brought in was Romans 1:24-27, and it says, therefore God gave them over in the sinful desires of their hearts to sexual impurity, for the degrading of their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie, and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchanged natural sexual relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with the women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed shameful acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their error. And I feel like that pretty much sums up my whole argument, because like, like whenever people stop following God, like it leads to like the breakdown of societies. Like like if you look at any like society that has been like crushed, or like any empire, like we don't talk, you talk about the Roman Empire, but it doesn't exist anymore and things like that. It's mainly because like they didn't follow God. They let themselves be led by what the body wanted versus like what is actually good for the body. Therefore, they started going, like it says here, to their shameful lust. And in the last part, I think it's verse 27, where it says, and they received in themselves the due penalty for their error. That, I believe, is why also we're getting lots of STDs. And I'm like, it's also like, I feel like whenever people talk about sexual sin, yes, homosexuality is bad, but they make it seem like the only sexual sin. While if it's like heterosexual, they're like, oh yeah, like that's okay. No. I'm like, yeah, and I would say like, like at least within the confines of marriage, it's like a covenant between you and another person, versus like with like a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, living with them. It's like, yes, they're you guys are like exclusive in the sense of dating and stuff like that, but they're not committed to you. Like they're like, what I'm saying, like you, now I know like some marriages aren't perfect, but like in the sense of like they're not committed, they can leave anytime. And if you're, and like all these days people are living with like their boyfriends and girlfriends as if they're married couples. And I'm one who doesn't agree with that, because it's just like, if they leave, they can't, like they can, because you guys, again, aren't exclusive. And it just shows like a lack of commitment on both sides. Like if you want to like live with someone, I believe you should be married to them. And yes, like you guys will argue and stuff, but it's still a lot better to be married than to like, just be like going around with people. And like in addition, like anyways, to get like back to the original point, I'm also not about like the BLGL stuff, because of like yaoi also, because that stuff is like children, man. Again, with like the children and sexual sin, kids should not be involved with this in any way. And I also have to say that also with like those characters who they're like, oh yeah, this person's like 500 years old but they look like a child. I'm not about that. Make people look their age. Let's go back to that. That's also why I won't be watching stuff like Yuri on Ice and things of that nature. Now, after talking about all those criteria, which I feel like was pretty heavy because there was like a lot, granted there were only five, but like there was like a decent amount. Now I'm gonna talk about the good stuff because I'm sad to say that with all those anime shows I watched, a lot of them do not fall in line with the things that I said. But I have been working on filtering them. Like One Piece, I've been watching it less and less. Shows like Fairy Tale, I'm not watching because of wizardry, because I'm not also about that witchcraft stuff and things like that, and just cutting them out. And like, what's it called? But again, like I said, I'm going to talk about the good stuff because there are some values that I really appreciate in these shows because I can't erase the memories of them, like, because some of them are really good writing, whether you want to agree with it or not. And stuff like that. So, like, the first point is killing demons and bad guys because some people are so bad that you just need to get rid of them. I'm sorry, but if you killed like an entire clan of people, there is no like I don't know, like maybe you have like your redemption arc, but in that redemption arc, you should probably die respectfully. What's it called? Like in JoJo and Demon Slayer, like the characters, I like these shoes. I like these shows the most because these characters don't like ever back down on like their core values ever. Like they persevere no matter the odds. Like even if they do change and grow as a character, there's still some fundamental thing there that makes them like, still stand their ground. Kind of like in part 5 of JoJo with Giorno. What's it called? One of my favorite parts ever. It's like he he hated like the mafia selling drugs to kids, and he's selling drugs to kids, plural. And he literally joined the mafia, which I don't agree with, but it's still a good part, trust me. Um, and he just like he stood against that. He didn't like kids with drugs and stuff like that, and I really appreciate that. Like it's like the little things like that. And in this part, I'm also gonna bring on like video game characters. Argenti, the best person to ever live. I drew a picture of him in my shorts if you guys want to check it out. But anyways, I also appreciate characters, like I said, who stand on their own values no matter what, connecting to the next part, which is like people like Argenti, who is like committed to a drilla. And also I just love knight characters in general, but who's committed to a drilla no matter what. And I just love characters who persevere no matter the odds. And it reminds me in my life, sometimes I do need to persevere no matter the odds, no matter what the world is throwing at me. Stand firm in my beliefs that I believe in God. And no matter what's gonna happen, life or death, rich or poor, that He is always gonna be there for me, no matter what. And dang. The next point, other characters who feature this for me are also like people like Naruto. He never gave up on his friends or his dreams. And I don't know if he's the one who says this or I'm just making stuff up, but he's like, I'm never gonna give up because that's my ninja way. And I kind of adopted that phrase in my life because it helps me to like develop a never give up type of mentality where even if I fail, I'm still gonna try and pursue like my goal. I mean, as long as if it's like, good and godly, like, but like, like, oh, I want to apply to like my school's business school. Even if I don't get in, at least I can say I tried and I ended up getting in. So it's stuff like that. Some other good things that I like in these shows that are kind of like not serious, but kind of are like the occasionally serious themes, like, like dealing with like characters who are like murderers who actually affect people's lives, like in Demon Slayer and things like that. But occasionally, I do appreciate the fun girly pop funny shows like Psyche K or on High School Host Club again, or like Glitter Force. Like, Glitter Force was like the only anime show that my sister watched, so I have to take that dub, okay? Like, yeah. And this kind of sort of leads me into my next part, which is like bad guys who are bad, because some people are just terrible people. Like, bro, like, like you don't need to like give like, oh, sob story, because at the end of the day, like those villains, even if they do have a sad past that makes you like kind of see into like what they're doing, that's still no excuse for the evil that they committed, you know? Like I can feel bad for you, but in the same sense, like you need to get taken down. Kind of like Dio. Bro sucks. I hate his character, but he's a good bad guy in the sense of like, okay, like we understand his parents sucked and stuff, but we're not gonna lie, he did kill a lot of people, attempt to murder people, and possibly even murder. No, I think he did murder his own dad. So it's like, you know, like just one of those things where it's like, yes, you had a traumatic past, but also like that traumatic, that traumatic past shouldn't define who you are. Like you can still go to become better. Kind of like I feel like it's also like a biblical theme too. Like, you know, like I don't know where it says this, but it says like, yeah, you'll be held according to like all the elders. Like you'll be like, oh yeah, like this lady, she was seducing me, or like this guy was seducing me and I fell like to it. And then like Joseph will show up and be like, hey dog, I said no to Potiphar's wife, so if I could do it, why couldn't you? And stuff like that, you know. And also people will sin, but like, you know, in general, like learn to stand your ground. And this awkwardly leads me into my next point. Good looking guy characters. I I do appreciate like good looking guy characters. Like I'm not gonna lie. I have a whole list of like good looking ones. Like I think there's a Gojo, despite never watching Jujutsu Kaisen ever. I've seen his character, guys. Let's be real. He looks really good. Like one of my hear me outs that surprises people is like Gyro Zappelli, because they're like, oh my gosh, bro looks normal. Then I show them his teeth and I'm like, hear me out. And they're like, oh, I see now. I see now. And it's really just like other white hair characters like Kakashi Sensei and things like that. Like I really have a type with these characters. But also Argenti is like the odd one out because he in fact has red hair, but it's because of his personality. But you won't see me like gooning to these characters, you know. That's why I'm also like with like the hentai thing. I'm just like, you know, like it's okay to like a character and say like, oh yeah, this character looks good. I love this character. But also don't make it weird and sexual. Like just stop like stop the cap. Like just stop it right now. And I also like meaningful storylines that showcase character development. I hate it whenever a character goes back on their entire development. Like one webtoon that it sticks out to me the most is True Beauty. Like I forgot his name, Chug Young. She had such potential, but she kept going back, falling back on the guys, and I'm like, girl, at some point you're gonna have to stand up for yourself, because at some point people are gonna be there to save you. But the ending sucked, so that made me sad. But like, you know, like in case of like some characters that do showcase really good character development, Johnny Joestar, part 7, amazing, immaculate. I was like, bro sucked in the beginning of the story, but towards the end, the scene that stood out the most to me was whenever he was fighting President Valentine, and I'm like, man. And President Valentine was trying to trick him into being like, I can bring you another gyro, man. I can bring your bestie back. And he was like, nah, how do I know if you're good or evil, blah blah blah. And I'm like, bro's clearly evil, but I understand it. And I'm like, you know what, he was like, and whenever he was like, you know what, I love my friend, but I'm not gonna bring him back because he's gone. And he came to like the conclusion of that. And I'm like, you know what, I respect you, Johnny, now. I respect you a lot. And I drew a picture of him that I now hang up in my dorm. So yeah. And also just in general, all around good themes. Like never giving up in Naruto, not giving into evil in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and standing up to evil even if it means death, like in Demon Slayer, which I love this story for that, because oh my gosh, like I'm not gonna lie, when I was reading the Infinity Castle arc, I was crying, but then I also had like an epiphany. Granted, it was like 2 a.m., so take it with a grain of salt. But it was like, man, even though they were like fighting these demons and they were dying, because their conviction was like, you know, like this is the time to like take them down, because like again, lots of people had died because of this. And even though you can like pity them, you understand, yeah, kill those demons. That's why I'm like, Demon Slayer is basically a Christian show, like let's be real. And well, I accidentally disconnected my mic there, but I respect Demon Slayer a lot for that, and definitely like would recommend watching it. now this leads me to the last part where I basically talk about like concluding it all, but not the conclusion because there will be a conclusion. But it's like story and art aspects I've learned. So here I'm just gonna bullet point really quickly because I looked at the radio thing. I'm approaching 30 minutes. So, anyways, um, my favorite story in terms of pure writing is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I mean, in its bizarreness, it's like pretty crazy, but I got like Araki's book on manga and theory and practice, and I love it. It helped me so much with my comic writing, creating character sheets and stuff. Like, in terms of like all the work that went into his writing, bro is a genius. Like, I appreciate that for what it is. In terms of world building, I love One Piece. Like the world is so alive, so active, and especially like the maps. So like for my own works and stuff, I like taking influence from like their worlds, even though it may not be logical all the time. Because I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to study like geography, geology, whatever topography. I'm not. If I'm making a map, it's gonna be like nonsensical, but I'm gonna make some sense into it, like in the world. Like at least like the most you're gonna get from me is like, okay, like here are some mountains that naturally form here with the rivers right there, and the mountains you can kind of see connecting here because it was one big landmass at first, but not anymore. Stuff like that, you know. That's probably as much as you're gonna get from me. And in terms of character design, Demon Slayer. Oh my gosh. Demon Slayer has like some of the most thoughtful character designs. Like you're telling me Zenitsu is yellow and has triangles because he's a character who likes to freak out because yellow represents anxiety and things like that. I'm like, bro, that makes so much sense for his character. And I'm like, I can respect the story a lot for that and all the details. And I remember looking up something online where apparently someone made a theory that all of like the upper six demons were actually based off real diseases that people suffered through during I think the Taisho era or the Edo period. I think it's Taisho era. And I was like, bro. And whenever I was reading it, I was like, makes a lot of sense. That's such deep character building. And I'm like, I want my story to be like that, where like even though like, my characters have certain colors, like for it to mean something about their personality, right? And this leads me into like kind of like a subsection which is in this, which is my own idea for comics. Because I don't know if you guys know, but I'm writing my own comic now because I'm not gonna lie. Like I said in the beginning, a lot of these anime shows suck. So I wanted to write something that like, you know, like Christians like me and stuff who are struggling to find comics or things that they can watch that also aligns with like their faith. I kind of like want to write something like that. So basically for my comic, I want the overall meaning to be about fate versus free will, how your choices affect you, and how you gotta make tough decisions in life sometimes. And about like the fate and free will, I mean, like, are you stuck with like the destiny, like the world assigns you, or can you break free of that and become a better person? Which I believe is biblical, because like, you know, like we were set to die, but since Jesus died and saved us all, now we have like the choice of like to follow him. And yes, some people don't listen, you know, but it's like, you know, it's about the choice. It's like you can choose God or you cannot. I would advise you guys to choose God because it's a lot better. But you know, like having eternal life versus dying a second death. But hey, to each their own. But follow God. Okay, that was awkward. Anyways, and also I love like classic stories about friendship, found family, loss, etc., etc. Like I love stories with well done like character relationships, which is something I feel like Naruto and stuff does good in terms of like the friendship aspect. Like I love having like people who are like best friends, fighting for your friend, looking for your friend whenever they get lost, while also like in the sense of like found family, because some people, their families suck or they just don't have family, because these OCs love having trauma. Even my OCs have lots of trauma. Like it's for character development, okay? But I appreciate it. If anything that I really hate is like the depiction of like romantic relationships in these shows, which I feel like with my story I'm gonna try and like break it, kind of like in Naruto. Hot take, but realistically, if you were focusing on the entire relationship thing, Sakura realistically probably should have ended up with Naruto, despite people wanting to say Hinata. I mean, Hinata's a good character, but she kind of bothers me. Feel free to attack me for that comment in the comment section. But, you know, like, realistically, like, Sasuke tried to kill Sakura. Like, I'm sorry, respectfully, if someone tries to kill me, I'm not marrying you and having your kid. Although, Sarada is adorable, but I quit watching Boruto, so I couldn't care less. So yeah, that's the sum up of that part. In conclusion, the real conclusion, here is what I came up with. I came up with that you can be a Christian and you can watch anime. It's okay. There are people who watch, like, respectfully, like reality TV and things like that that are a lot worse in some aspects, but you also gotta admit lots of these shows have their downsides, and it really depends on what you value at the time. And one thing I would say is, like, be careful about what you're watching. And if you have the gut feeling that a show is bad, it's probably the Holy Spirit telling you that it is bad. So you should probably drop it cold turkey. Like, and I would say, like, an example for this before I close was actually me with Genshin Impact. Because lo and behold, I figured out whenever the Archon's names were demons, I was struggling with it so hard. I was like, I feel like I shouldn't be playing this game. And I thought if I called them by, like, their other name, it would be good. But then I remember going to a church camp where they were like, if you feel something's bad, blah, 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 basically drop it, is what they were saying. Like, drop all the sin, pick up your cross and go. And I was like, you know what? I will not play this game anymore. I will drop it and move on with my life. Because ultimately, if they're praising demons, then what does that say about me, someone who claims to be a Christian? And even though, like, some shows I know are still kind of bad, I'm still working on, like, dropping shows slowly because, like, stopping cold turkey is sometimes hard, but it's all about, like, the process, even with music and things like that. And I'm just gonna say this verse, Matthew 7 verses 16 through 20. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, by their fruit, you will recognize them. And I'm like, honestly, by the fruit of an anime show, you will be able to recognize whether it's something good or something bad. If all the people are basically, like, gooning, saying, like, oh, I love this character. Like, like, some anime shows will have some of that, but if it's a majority of the fan base, that's a sign that you probably should not be watching it, and things like that. Or people promoting toxic relationships, like with children and stuff, you probably shouldn't be watching it. And I guess I will also close it off with this question. Even if the whole world is watching it, what's the point of gaining the world and losing your soul? So basically that's the video about being a Christian anime lover. And I would hope you would meditate on this question while you're watching this video. Thanks and have a blessed day. Well, this is editing me, and since the video is 100% over, I will just link here or, like, show some, like, images wherever in the description and on the screen of, like, places where you can follow me, blah blah blah, and, like, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or X, which I need to re-download because I'm not gonna lie, I don't have it on my phone, or Threads and things like that. And feel free to share this video with a friend. And if you want, I also do commissions. So if you want some commissions, I'll take your order, okay? And yeah, see you next time for my next video or short. I don't know. Just pay attention, man, okay?